I want to bring in our first guests tonight. They know quite a bit about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They just conducted a major exclusive interview with him. I'd like to
Hmm.
bring in the Jackman Brothers. We've got Eric and Mike Jackman of Jackman Radio. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hello,
Thanks for having
boys.
me.
You look
Hey,
alike.
I can't tell
yeah,
which is which without your name tags. You've been
yeah,
hearing that all your life, haven't you?
baby A and baby B, you know, deja vu. Thanks for having us.
It is truly a pleasure. And I
Pleasure to
just
have
wanted
you.
to start off since you get the concept of the show, Strange Bedfellows. We're trying to bring people together to build sort of a unity coalition of people from all sides of the political spectrum. And so I'd like to just start off if maybe Mike would start and tell me a little bit about your own politics. How would you describe yourself politically and how did you get there?
Well, I would say as a young fellow, I started off as a Democrat, pretty dyed in the wool. I was for John Kerry in 2003 and 2004, did some volunteer work on his campaign as a junior and senior in high school. Really believed that he was going to be different than George W. Bush and that he was, going to end the Iraq War. Again, I was 17, 18 years old. So
I forgive
after,
you.
thank you. After that election, I was very crestfallen and upset, and decided that I didn't like I didn't like the Democrats anymore. I didn't like either party. I saw it as a disappointment, and I saw the Libertarians and Michael Badnarik and the Green Party and David Cobb were the only two who were trying to have any kind of election integrity in Ohio. And what happened in Ohio? Clearly, there was fraud there within the 88 counties, and there was the Diebold voting machines, and that whole, I researched all that and got into that. RFK Jr. wrote an amazing article about that in 2006 in Rolling Stone, which they've since cucked and taken down.
Yep.
So, long story short, I'm an independent. I became an independent after the '04 election, but I have a lot of respect for the libertarians with respect to foreign policy, surveillance, drug policy, 1A, 2A. I think they're right on about all that. And anybody, I mean, whether you call yourself a socialist, a communist, a libertarian, an independent, if you're here talking about RFK Jr. and foreign policy and the need to prevent nuclear annihilation, then you're good in
Amen.
my book. That's where I'm
Amen.
coming from. I don't want World War III.
That's
Amen.
it.
That's a dividing line for me. Are you anti-war? And
Yes.
if you
Yeah.
are, but a lot of these people running the country are not. You turn on the TV and it's, rah rah Ukraine.
It's awful. It's
And
a
it
total
really,
inversion.
it
Yeah,
really doesn't matter which side you support in the war, whether you support Ukraine or you support Russia. I think it's safe to say nobody wants to die in a fiery nuclear blast, right? We have to ask
yeah.
ourselves, is it worth it? What we're doing here? We're really pushing Russia's buttons. And we sure did this week when we tried to assassinate the president of Russia.
Yeah, I mean that's something like that's a big deal, and people will kind of laugh about it and mock it and try and denigrate another world leader. And no world leader is perfect. I mean, but I would talk about Putin the same way I talk about George W. Bush. I mean, George W. Bush had that flub. I don't think it was a flub. I think it was an admission saying where he was trying to make a reference about Russia and Ukraine. And he inadvertently, brought up Iraq, invading Iraq. So that was the other thing that really politically is why I believe what I believe is because of the Iraq War. I saw a lot of my classmates sign up for that nonsense. Some of them didn't come back. Some of the ones who did come back came back with missing limbs or drug addiction and mental illness, and some have taken their own lives. So that's informed my worldview a lot the last 20 years as well.
Of course, of course. And what about you, Eric? I mean, you're twins, but did you mirror each other's political beliefs or were you strange bedfellows?
Yeah, well, we go since 1986. We've always been strange bedfellows, starting in the womb, of course. Yeah, Lori, Tyler, great to meet the two of you, and thank you so much for the invite and having us
Good to
on.
meet you, Eric.
Yeah, my political trajectory is pretty similar to Mike's. A lot of the same political activities together. Volunteered for John Kerry's campaign there. Of course, with the New Hampshire primary here, they all come here to our state, so you get to meet the next president. And when we first moved up here and I became aware of that, I was fascinated by it. Like, oh, wow, because before we were from Massachusetts, we spent our first 10 years there. The president was just someone you saw on TV. You would never meet him or see him in person. And then we get up here to New Hampshire and start getting involved in civics class and government and learning about the New Hampshire primary. And I remember John Kerry being my senator in Massachusetts, and my teacher was like, "Hey, you can go to an event, 20 minutes away, and you can go meet John Kerry and ask him a question and get a picture with him." So I was like, "Really? The U.S. Senator John Kerry from Massachusetts, who's running for president?" They're like, "Yeah, that's the way the New Hampshire primary works. We ask them questions, we vet them, we research them, we take it very seriously here." So once I did that and, got going on that and saw how up close we could get, and then you get in the press and you learn about the media and politics and all that, I just became hooked and addicted to it. So 2024, I think this is what, Mike, our 7th New Hampshire primary, I think number 7. Yeah.
Except this time you're not going to be ahead of South Carolina. So
well, we'll see. We have a state law that says we have to go first no matter what. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I'm hearing they just might do it anyway, no matter what the DNC thinks. Is that true?
Yeah.
He's going to do it anyway.
We have a pretty renegade Secretary of State here, which is good.
So we have a question from someone in the audience. Maybe one of you gents would like to answer it. And I hear this a lot. I'm sure you do too. They say, I really like RFK Jr., but he's controlled opposition like Bernie was. Anybody want to address that?
Well, I think he's saying things Bernie didn't even say in 16 and in 20. I like when Bernie was like, "I'm not friends with Henry Kissinger. Hillary's friends with Henry Kissinger. I'm not a friend." That's kind of base Bernie. I like that. I like when Bernie says things like that. But he liked flying around on the jet with Hillary after his campaign got screwed over, and even the stuff came out from Donna Brazile and how they were going to rig it against Bernie, and he endorsed her. And then he, of course, after he did so well here in New Hampshire last time, they pigpiled on him again, and he did the same thing. So, that shows you where Bernie's at and what he ended up doing. RFK Jr., I don't know, man. He's coming out of the gate saying things that Bernie's never said. And
right.
I mean, we tried to interview Bernie. We never got him to sit down. RFK Jr. sat down with the likes of us. So, I mean, that tells you he's something different, in my opinion.
Absolutely. What do you think, Eric? Got a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Mike Tracy, I'm sure you guys are familiar with him. Yeah. I got to know him a little bit on Tulsi's campaign because he was up here in New Hampshire. He dug up some unflattering stuff about RFK Jr., recycled it, which is going to happen. Bobby knows that's going to happen. Stuff from his past is going to come up. You're going to see him with the Clintons. You're going to see him with all the mainstream Democrats. He alludes to the fact that he's been friends with Joe Biden for 40 years. A lot of people in his family, of course, are friends with him. He's got 3 members of his family serving in the Biden administration right now.
Right.
So you're going to always have people who are negative and naysayers and just say, no, he's an op. There's no way this is real. But like what my brother said, I mean, Bobby is coming out of the gate saying some really explosive stuff. And he did sit down with my brother and I, and we did talk about his father's assassination and his uncle's assassination and spoke very candidly about that. Yes, and these are things coming from a Kennedy, the namesake of Robert F. Kennedy, who has a huge platform and a huge audience, despite the censoring he's experienced and the silencing of him and the slagging and just the smearing that he's had. Yeah. So, everyone has baggage. Everyone has stuff in their past. Bobby says, "Hey, I have a lot of skeletons in my closet, and if they could all vote, I'd win this thing in a landslide," which I think it shows some.
I love that.
I like that too. And when we first saw him speak, when he was thinking about running in March at the New Hampshire Institute of Politics at St. Anselm College, he said, we have to remember to still have fun and be able to poke fun at ourselves. And, obviously this is a serious thing that we're doing and that we're talking about, but we have to still have fun and enjoy ourselves. So I don't think he's controlled opposition. When you're talking to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about the fact that the CIA, he said on Tucker Carlson that it was a coup that happened 60 years ago when my uncle was removed by.
And no presidential candidate is saying that. And certainly no member of the Kennedy family has had the guts to say that for the last 60 years,
Exactly. Someone, right. The namesake and someone with the power and the prestige and the network and the reach that RFK Jr. has. So right out of the gate right there, that shows me he's going to be doing things differently. And he said to my brother and I, this thing's in God's hands. I'm going to tell the truth. And if the American people want to hear that, I'll end up in the White House.
I love that quote. That's
how I feel about this podcast. It's in God's hands. Yes. Jesus, take the wheel.
Jesus, take the wheel.
I'll say the difference with Bernie. I was a huge Assange fan And Assange is in prison largely because he embarrassed Hillary Clinton to give Bernie Sanders an honest shot. And then Bernie didn't do a damn thing about it. Whereas RFK comes out, and I'll be honest, my politics, I'm almost positive they're going to screw Bernie over. Almost 99.9% sure. There's that, or RFK,
Kennedy?
but yeah, Kennedy. But I don't know if you remember that, I think it was Jeff Beck was the lawyer that sued the DNC for fraud. And the DNC said in open court that it doesn't matter who wins the primary. We can choose in a smoky back room. We're a private corporation. We're going to choose who the candidate is. What do you think superdelegates are for? But you guys we need the illusion of democracy, right? So we got to let you out there. But on my side of the fence, I'll just say the Marxist side of the fence, we look at politics in a grown-up way. I don't really think it's going to change in this country until we have a working-class party of working people that's outside of the two-party duopoly that in one way or another is for war and Wall Street. But in the meantime, if there's a candidate going out there saying the CIA killed my uncle, I want that guy to keep talking. That helps my politics. Sirhan didn't, it wasn't all above board with the way my dad died. Keep talking. Keep talking. I want to hear more. So for someone to poo-poo him out no, we need to encourage him. You're going to win, RFK. You keep going, brother. I want to hear it all. Tell me all of
it's
it.
almost too good to be true. I think there's a too good to be true factor here. People are so jaded and angry at the system, and they don't believe anything anymore. And president after president has let them down. Politician after politician has lied to them and let them down. Ultimately, the people in the Bernie movement are understandably quite bitter, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And so they don't trust anybody. And they hear Bobby saying this stuff, and Trump too. He let a lot of his voters down, didn't keep a lot of promises.
But RFK's exposing hypocrisy and contradictions, and he's educating the American people. And for us to ever have politics that actually works, where people call bull on a politician that doesn't help them, we need an educated populace, and we need politicians that are willing to point out hypocrisy and contradiction. And RFK is doing both those things.
Just like Trump did. Yeah.
That's what RFK just said in another interview that he did. He said, we have to identify that we have a problem and then talk about it honestly and then go from there. And I mean, just look at the way he's going up in the polls, whether you agree with polls or think they're frivolous or think that they're meaningful. I think him going from 14% to 21% in like a week, I think that says something. I think it says that people are seeing what he's saying, and they're seeing, really this enema of truth is really what it really is. It's a blast up the dark, corporate oligarchical sphincter of the American decay.
That's what I thought you said. I'm like, did you just say an enema of truth?
And but it is though, and we need that, man. That's shaking people to their core. They're like, oh my God. He's kind of saying some of the things that the MAGA movement said and that Trump said, but it's more eloquent, it's more factual, and I think it's more credible in a lot of ways because, Bobby's been an insider for his whole life. He knows how these things work. He knows how all these government institutions work. He sued them. I mean, he has a really unique perspective. And also like Trump, though, like kind of what you said, Lori, he's never held office or been elected. So he's not a politician, but he's been so close to it that he can speak about it truthfully. The way Trump did it, he's like, one of the oligarchs came down from the mountain and decided to run. Look, I gave all these guys money. Now I'm running. Okay, I gave you money. I gave you money. I gave you money. I farted in your face. And now here he is. So he's doing it differently. He's doing it a little bit more velvet, a little bit more finesse, and a little bit more education.
Yeah, I guess I should probably tell the audience at this point that the Jackman Brothers also do comedy. If you hadn't figured that out for yourselves by now, but they're actually hilarious impression comics. And you do a great Trump. Could you give us a little more Trump? Just a little bit.
Well, Eric, should we do two Trumps? I mean, two Trumps are better than one. I mean, they say, Stormy said, she had a minute for every inch. It was the longest 3 minutes she ever had, quite frankly. And I want to say hello to Scott in Russia. Say hello to my buddy Vlad. Say, how's he doing? How's Vlad doing? Hopefully all the girls drink a lot of water before you got there.
It's true. It's true, Lori. No, guilty. Guilty is charged, okay? Barron was only, I don't know, 3 weeks old. I was out there in Colorado with Stormy. We had a great time. Okay. It was an unbelievable time. Tyler, that's a tough sell with the communists. I've known some great communists. Some of their women are very beautiful. I mean, obviously, because they don't eat, they don't have access to food, so they're going to be very thin. And I like thin.
Yes.
Okay. Trump likes thin. Okay. I like thin behind the Iron Curtain. That's where we imported Melania from when she was 12. We did from beyond the Iron Curtain. She started in the kitchen at Trump Tower when she was 12, and now she was First Lady. Okay, that's American success. That's immigration done legally. Okay, legal immigration. She's a genius, Lori. She is. But we got Lindsey Graham is here too. Mike, tell us about Lindsey Graham.
Well, I wish I would have gone to Russia because I got some stuff over there. I want to do, Tyler. I want to go over there and I want to rub sunscreen on all the backs of all the servicemen.
I bet you do, Lindsay.
Because they need a lot of Lori. They need a lot of support. We can't just vote yes on $1 trillion defense. We got to do the defending, and we got to go over and do it in their backyard with big sticks.
Yeah,
and big rhymes with sticks.
Lindsay, we met Lindsay. He's fun in person, but you're like, wow, this guy really is just like a psychopathic, neocon.
He's completely
stooge.
nuts.
Yeah, he is nuts. Lucky Lindsay, man.
Didn't he play pool on Stephen Colbert? Wasn't he on Stephen Colbert playing like pool one night? I remember
we played pocket pool. we did some pocket pool.
Okay.
Colbert, man, what a show that guy is. He goes in neocons and he does the whole jab thing, the jab skit that he did with all the people dressed as needles. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I saw that. God,
wow.
Ugly stuff, Lori.
I quit watching him long ago. It became a painful exercise, and what happens when you sell your soul.
He became the very thing that he used to mock on the Colbert Report.
Yeah.
I mean, when he did this correspondence dinner and made fun of W. Bush to his face, he had some pretty good jabs in that. That was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. That was he was a rock star at that time, and now he's just a corporate clown. He's what Bill Hicks used to say about Leno, although Leno compared to him is just a rock star.
Yeah, he makes Leno look like Ernie Kovacs.
He makes Jay Leno look like Lenny Bruce. What did he say?
Like Mort Saul.
Yeah.
I love that.
Is it the CBS logo? If Colbert ever did himself in, his brains would make the CBS logo on the back. Isn't that the Bill Hicks?
Something like
the
that.
Bill Hicks.
That's right.
Bill Hicks line.
I love when
Bill Hicks bit.
Bill Hicks had that joke where he's like, I went and checked out the 6th floor museum. It's on the 6th floor. And it's interesting. I went to the window and, Oswald's not in it,
That's it.
Oswald, they're lying to us.
The anti-Castro pigeons going,
the pigeons.
Coo, coo.
Flew him upside down from the 6th floor depository.
And that was something that was fun about our 70 minutes with Bobby when we sat down with him. Like, he knew that we did impressions and, we're into comedy and stuff. And we did some of them during the interview, and he was laughing. It showed a good side of him, that he's got a sense of humor. And obviously, I said,
Bobby's a funny guy. He's a
really
funny guy.
Yeah. And he had some good stories about how he was involved in a couple of lawsuits with Trump. And we didn't know that.
I'd never heard him talk about that before. Actually.
That was a really interesting part of the podcast, and I liked how they talked about how nice Trump is in person, and it made me feel like he'd be a fun guy to hang out with, because RFK was trying to be mad at him because he's suing him, and he's like, but he's such a good, he's
just so damn nice.
You just want to like him.
Well, look, Bobby, we'll give you a flight on Trump Force One. Okay, your wife set this up. We'll bring you down to Mar-a-Lago for the holidays. Okay, I know you're suing me. That's okay. All right. I mean, Trump has been involved. He's been involved in like 4,000 lawsuits, and it's just par for the course when you get to that level of gangster that Donald Trump is and has been for most of his life.
You forget who you've sued.
Oh, you can't even. I mean, dude, the guy was prepared.
Am I suing you? I didn't even know.
You read his niece's book, man. That guy was prepared to screw all of his siblings out of the inheritance from old man Fred. So he'll be in lawsuits with the sibling. He doesn't care. He says, I'll sue my mother. I'll sue my grandmother. I'll sue my dead great grandmother. Okay,
dig her up. We're gonna take her to court.
We did crossing over. Yeah, no, Trump is hilarious. I've met him a couple times in person. He is as advertised. When you meet him and you see him and you talk to him, he's like a cartoon. and he is really funny, and he has a magnetism about him. He absolutely does. I mean, all eyes are on him. People are hanging on his every word. What's he going to say next?
Yeah,
and he's a funny guy. I mean, I think he should quit politics and just embrace
comedy.
Embrace the takedown stand-up comic, insult comic that he is. He's so
Totally.
I've seen the best comedians perform, and when Trump is just in his element, savagely riffing, stream of consciousness, dude, there's no one funnier than Trump up there with a hot mic in front of 5,000 MAGA strong, just riffing. Like he'll pick something randomly from that news cycle, and then he'll have an anecdote that he can pull from that he personally has with that person, like when he gave out Lindsey Graham's phone number that time when he trolled him, just stuff like that. And he's like, Lindsey Graham, he's got to be the stupidest guy. We get this guy, little Lindsey, okay? So stupid. And then he gives out his number. So
it was his real number too.
I was going to say, as long as the president's just a patina for the American empire, at least get a funny one in there. Get Trump back in there. But, I will say Trump didn't start any new wars.
Yeah, and I was going to add to that, Tyler. Isn't it amazing that it could be Tucker Carlson and Rand Paul that were the two figures that conceivably prevented us from, bombing Iran after we smudged Soleimani? That's one of the most. That's probably the most worried I was during the Trump years was when he blew that guy up. I
think that was the worst thing he did.
Oh, it was
and
awful.
you know what saved us from that?
So stupid.
COVID.
Yeah, the flu world order.
Yeah, we hit Soleimani like on the 3rd of January, 2020. And we were literally about to go to war with Iran. And then all of a sudden, this virus comes out of China and everybody forgot about Iran.
Well, Lori, I was prepared to go in. I was prepared to go in even stronger. And I said, how many are going to die? They said, sir, it's going to kill 100. I said, I don't like it. So we called off the strike. And I decided to go have pizza at McDonald's with Rocket Man not long after that. So I don't know that there's dove inclinations, but I think that he's the least warmongering president we've had in 40 years, which is kind of scary in a lot of ways. But it's also true to your point, Tyler. He didn't start any new hot wars, but we had the coup in Venezuela that he was involved in. I actually believe some of the plotters met at Doral. I don't know if you saw that. That was pretty interesting. And
Mike Pompeo, not good.
Pompeo.
What was
Elliot
John Bolton,
Abrams,
Mr. Mustache? Not
Walrus,
good.
Walrus.
Yeah,
I didn't like the stash. I almost didn't hire him because of that, but it's okay. I brought him in anyways. It's okay. We brought him in, but no, he didn't want it. He didn't really strike me as a big warmongering guy. And I loved during the 2016 debates with Jeb how he just bitch slapped him in South Carolina right in front of Poppy before he shuffled, right in front of Barbara and right in front of W, and just said the World Trade Center came down during your brother's reign. That's not safe. I mean, he had the gall to say that right to his face in front of a room full of Republicans. How awesome was that?
Didn't
Even
he
if it
blame
was
the
Kabuki,
Iraq War on him too? Didn't that
the war in Iraq? That was a doozy. They said there were weapons of mass destruction, and there weren't none. They lied. They all lied, and they knew it. Okay, it took Jeb 5 days for his people to tell him they were there. They weren't there. They were there. So,
and you got him down. Great impression.
It may have been Kabuki theater, Lori, but it was a lot of fun. And even when he's lying, he's telling the truth sometimes, which is very interesting about the king. He's ripped back some of the curtain a little bit on the empire.
We're in Syria for the oil. I would have took the oil.
Look, Exxon, I'll send Tillerson in there to make your head spin, Tyler. Okay, we'll send Rawhide Rex in there. We'll be running a Rawhide, and we'll get it all. We'll get every single dead one of them. We'll turn them into juice for my car. Okay.
It's great. It feels like I'm really talking to Trump. It's amazing.
It does. It's like an exclusive interview with Donald Trump right here on Strange Bedfellows.
Well, it was me. Hi, Rand Paul here. I'm very happy to be here, as you can tell. And it was me who said, Donald, this is your last off ramp. You only get a couple more off ramps, and I'm offering you one. I'll let you win this golf match if you don't bomb Iran. How does that sound? And that's probably what it went like. It probably went something like that,
I hope so. So are you guys working on an RFK Jr. impression?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people make commentary about his voice, so
right.
I don't know. It's a
it almost seems mean, doesn't it, to do an impression?
Yeah, he doesn't
of a guy who's got a speech impediment, or
he doesn't have any control over that. You know what I mean? Right. So I don't know. If he gives me permission, I'll come up with one.
Are you guys James Adomian fans, or
Adomian's
the guy that does
brilliant.
Trump? Anthony
Atomic.
Yes. Their Bernie Trump debate. That's what I'm getting vibes of with you guys talking. If you guys haven't seen the Bernie Trump debate between those two, you should check it out. It's very funny.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Tyler, because we were kind of on a similar track with those guys. We were kind of we've been doing this, political impressions since middle school. Honestly, I did I did Bill Clinton's farewell address when I was a seventh grader, and there's footage of it
Really?
somewhere. I dressed up as Bill Clinton. Eric dressed up as Linda Tripp. We had a gal play Monica Lewinsky, and a friend of mine played Ken Starr.
Oh,
And,
man.
Oh, you're a man after my own heart.
Oh
I
man.
love it.
It was. I like to mock them all. I see some of the comments in here accusing us of being left or accusing us of being that. Like I said, like Jesse Ventura, I'm an independent. I mock them all. Okay,
There you
if
go.
I haven't made fun of you yet, I just haven't gotten around to it. But I will.
That's perfect.
I
You
will,
nail it.
Lori.
You're at least, you
So-
guys are at least as good as James Adomian. You're up there.
Oh, thank
So
you.
I
Yeah,
have
if
to
I
ask
shut my eyes, I
because,
couldn't tell.
I'm such a Tulsi Gabbard fan, and I haven't voted Democrat in 27 years. If Bobby runs as a Democrat, I'll vote for a Democrat. But I was going to vote for a Democrat in 2020 when Tulsi was running because I really liked her, and I vote for the person, not the party. But she was, she bowed out of the primaries before they got to Super Tuesday. So I never got the chance to vote for Tulsi. But I know that one or both of you worked with her campaign. And I just wanted to ask you guys a little bit about Tulsi. What made you want to work with her? And tell me a little bit about the campaign that you did with her.
Yeah. So, I found out about Tulsi really when I remember her first getting elected because she was so young. She was, 2012. She was about 31. And I was excited about that to see someone who was relatively my age. She's 5 years older than me. She was born in 81. I was born in 86. So it was just cool to see someone who wasn't 130 years old like Dianne Feinstein.
Right.
In there, just an old bag of bones, insider trading, wine swilling pillhead like Nancy Pelosi. So I was like, wow, this is refreshing. She's a young millennial combat veteran who's a Democrat. She got elected. She seems pretty sharp and bright. I like what she's saying. So I knew she was in there. And Ron Paul and Kucinich were just leaving when she was coming in. So
That's right.
we were losing two of our greatest anti-war voices arguably to ever serve in Congress. And those are
Totally
two men
agree.
who I have the utmost respect for. And I know both of them personally. I worked on Ron Paul's 2012 campaign.
Oh, you did?
and
Cool.
I
So
did.
I.
Yep. And I know Dennis Kucinich very well. We just saw Dennis. He was with Bobby, obviously. So, I kind of kept my eye on what Tulsi was up to and followed her a little bit. Hawaii is pretty far from New Hampshire. And then 2016.
She stayed there for like a month, didn't she? I think she rented a house in New Hampshire and lived there
Yeah,
for a month or two.
during the campaign. Yeah, near the end of the 2020 primary, she was just basically here. Like they put all their resources here in New Hampshire and really went for it. And we did, I think, over 200 events over just over a year in New Hampshire, like town halls, meet and greets, retail, house parties, speeches, rallies, all that kind of stuff. It was one of the best campaigns I've ever been a part of. But yeah, obviously she was DNC co-chair in 16 and then stepped down, showed some courage there, backed Bernie. We all found out what happened with WikiLeaks and what they were doing. And then when it was that election was over and it was getting to be near 2020, I started hearing rumblings about her thinking about running for president because she had visited New Hampshire a couple times in the lead up to 2020. And you're
Testing the waters.
testing the waters. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're not coming to New Hampshire in January and February because you like all the snow and the cold when you could just be chilling surfing out in Hawaii. So
That's
that
right.
got my attention. And one of her probably her last visit before she actually announced, I drove over an hour to go meet her and hear her speak because I was just very intrigued about her and the fact that she met with Trump when he was president-elect, the fact that she went to Syria and told the entire foreign policy establishment to go to hell in Washington by doing so.
Very brave.
'Cause I would have loved to have seen a member of Congress do that in the lead up to Iraq. I mean,
Mm.
that who knows, things could have been different if a few members of Congress had the cojones to go and do that.
Right.
So those are just things I saw about her that just really fascinated me and intrigued me. And especially someone who saw the war up close and is a combat veteran and served over there for a year. So she had all that going for her. I went and met her, saw her speak. I knew within 10 minutes of hearing her pitch, and then getting to talk to her after and feeling her out, what she was all about. I said, hey, Tulsi, if you run and you're going to do this, I'll do everything in my power here in the New Hampshire to help your campaign and promote you and get the message out. So that was it. I, got in touch with her staff, her sister, and her husband's her videographer, and got connected with all those guys, and we stayed in touch. And she announced, I think, like early February 2020 or late January. And from there, I was helping to organize one of her first early big rallies here in New Hampshire. We had almost 200 people come out, and I didn't know who he was at the time, but Captain Watson there, the famous environmentalist and badass dude with the white hair who disrupts all the whaling rigs, and he was there front row. He drove, I guess he's got a place in Vermont, and he was there. So it brought a lot of strange bedfellows, as you guys know, just a coalition of really interesting and cool people who were very put off by the process and just dismayed at the corruption and that we don't have any more anti-war voices. So really it was her foreign policy inclinations and the truth she was speaking about empire and about the war machine that drew me to her campaign. So
and now it seems like Bobby Kennedy's kind of picking up that mantle that Tulsi laid down when she left the Democratic Party, and he seems to be that anti-war, anti-imperialism candidate. At least we hope he is. So my dream ticket would be a Kennedy Gabbard ticket.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to get your feedback on that, guys, because I would think you're into that. But how would we convince Tulsi to do it? Because she's already left the Democratic Party, and it'd be hard to see her coming back after she made a big show of leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly all for it. I mean, either one or two, either one in either role is fine with me because they both understand how government works. Tulsi understands the military, foreign policy. She's got those chops. Bobby understands the bureaucracies. He understands how to staff agencies. He's been litigating with these groups and these people his entire career. So it would be a powerhouse team. Like I'm with you, Lori. I definitely would love to see them team up. And you're absolutely right. There's a lot of crossover and synergy in the ethos that they both share and their worldviews and how they view how out of hand the corruption has gotten in our country with our government.
And Tulsi studies a lot of JFK's presidency. She knows what he was up against. I think she gets it. I think she and Bobby would be a perfect match ideologically. And if they ran on an independent ticket, I think they'd be just hot fire. But, they'll never get a fair shake in the Democratic
I've loved
Party.
Tulsi ever since she stood up to Debbie Wasserman Schultz in 2016.
Yes.
She said, you're not giving Bernie a fair shake. And then, I was super plugged in. And then Julian Assange came out, proved they weren't giving her a fair shake. I don't know how Debbie Wasserman Schultz shows her face in public.
Why isn't she in prison? For goodness sake.
I have no idea. Well, because this
a
isn't
lot of
your
them
government,
belong.
Lori Spencer. This is someone else's government. This is
That's
the
right.
government of the rich. Socialism
in
for the rich,
the
rugged
DNC,
individualism for you.
This is what Democrats, a lot of my fellow Democrats don't understand. They argue with me when I say Bobby needs to get the hell out of the Democratic Party. And they're like, no, he's going to save the party. He's going to fix it. And I'm
His
like,
moment of
he's going
truth
to
for me.
change it.
His moment of truth for me will be at the end
No.
when he either runs independent, runs with Donald Trump, or he can endorse Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Those are the choices. And that's when I will ultimately decide, do I like you or not, buddy? But until
We
then,
floated that to him too, Tyler.
I give you everything.
We floated the idea of him and Trump running on a unity ticket.
I heard you talk about that.
So
Mhm.
he didn't
And
really.
he's not going there.
I'm the one who beat Trump, is what his response was. But
That's right.
yeah, no, you're right, man. Hey, Tulsi endorsed Biden in 2020, which was a disappointment to a lot of Tulsi supporters. But I think she said all along she was going to do that, so she at least she kept.
You have no choice. They make you sign a loyalty pledge.
Yeah,
boy, it's a real mafia, isn't it? It's disgusting, and I agree with you, Tyler.
Mafia on earth, sir.
The Democratic Party doesn't deserve somebody like Bobby putting himself out there. I mean, the dude could just hang out in Cape Cod and have drinks and oysters the rest of his life and kick his feet up and not give a shit about any of this. But He's not
People
doing that.
People get wrapped up in the details. They killed
Yeah.
his dad, and he's running for office.
And his uncle.
He's
Yeah.
and his uncle, and he's that's what I think's going on. He's close to death. He knows he doesn't have a whole lot of time left. Hopefully he does, but you know what
And he doesn't care.
You get to this point where you're like, you killed my dad. I'm going to humiliate you on the biggest national stage I can. It's obviously you guys are moving towards fascism. It's woke fascism. It's the swastika with the Walmart smiley face on the top. That's America these days. And he's going to humiliate them, at least. And I'm glad.
No. The Democrats are like, no, you don't get a chance to debate. Turn that guy's mic off. And ABC News, you saw what they did last week. They literally butchered
censored
that
him.
interview. They
The
totally
internet's
look
getting
so
pretty
bad,
big
Lori.
now.
Turned his
They're
mic
even
off.
letting us on it. So
It made them look really bad, and even they had to bring him back on CNN for the first time in years. And he did an interview with Smirkonish, and I've always really not been a big fan of Smirkonish because of his kind of hawkish tendencies. But at least he let Bobby talk, and I think it's going to blow up in their faces in a lot of ways because if he continues to push up and goes to 30, 40 points, if they don't debate him or let him in, man, that's going to make them look really bad. That's going to be beyond pathetic. And if they're just going to keep Basement Joe, they're going to keep him down to the basement with an adrenochrome blood bag, as Alex Jones would say. If they're just going to do that, it's going to backfire, man. More independents and more people who don't usually participate or vote are going to come out from the sidelines, and they're going to be like, "Fuck Biden, I want Bobby."
absolutely.
I think that's what I think you're seeing that.
And I hope we have a lot. I hope my political organization, CPI, and lots of others host debates for the candidates that want to debate.
Yes, please.
There is not going to be a Democrat debate. And then you can point out, why aren't you debating this, Joe Biden? Are you afraid? I mean, the internet's starting to be a pretty big place, and that's why the Twitter files and whatnot, they're starting to crack down on it. That's why we got to be careful what we say on here, But that consciousness is rising, and Mr. RFK is out there helping us out. The internet exists. So,
well, speaking of, I want to take a look at the interview you guys did with Bobby.
yes, please.
I want to play a little excerpt from that. And folks, if you like what you see and you want to hear more, it really was a great interview. You can watch the whole thing on Jackman Radio's YouTube channel. And I highly encourage it. It's one of the better interviews that I've seen with him. And like you said, it's 70 minutes. So it's really, really in depth. And you guys got him to talk about a lot of things that I've never heard him address in an interview before. And I've known the guy for 15 years. So nice job. Good job, guys.
Definitely. It was incredible.
Hey,
Incredible.
Jeff, you
should
got that
definitely
video
check it
queued
out.
up for us?
If you look,
Let's take
the
a
thing
look.
that convinced me, I mean, I always assumed Sir had killed my father. I always assumed from when I was a little kid that my uncle, Lee Harvey Oswald, whoever killed my uncle, that it was part of a conspiracy. And that's what Congress concluded when they investigated it, in the 70s. In fact, when the day after my uncle was shot, or, I guess it was actually when we were waking him in the East Room of the White House. So his coffin was lying in the East Room of the White House, and we were in the White House, and I was standing next to my mother and my Aunt Jackie. And Lyndon Johnson came in and said that Lee Harvey Oswald had been shot and killed. And I said, and he said there was a man, named Jack Ruby who did it. And I said to my mother and Jackie, I said, did he love our family? Did Jack Ruby love our family? Oh, even then, and now, as of course it turns out, Jack Ruby was a mobster who was working for the same people that the CIA had recruited to kill Castro, Carlos Marcello and Santos Traficante.
He's doing gun running too, I think.
He was doing gun running to Cuba. And, he's an interesting guy because he then tried to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And he came clean.
He had
at the end, but he
Dorothy
was terrified.
Kilgallen
And they
caught the
wouldn't
one.
move him. He said, please move me to a safe place out of Texas. And I want to testify in front of the Warren Commission, but you need to move me. And they wouldn't allow him to talk.
Yeah, and he died a few years later in
Yeah.
67 of cancer or something like that.
Yeah.
After being
But when I heard that, I was like, well, why would he kill, my uncle's killer? He must have loved my family. So then the more I found out, my father then found out, he asked Walter Sheridan, who was his He's kind of investigator. He was a former FBI G-man, and he worked for my father, was very loyal to him, and he got quietly asked, when Jim Garrison was investigating the assassination, my father was walking through National Airport one day and saw all these magazines on a rack with Jim Garrison's picture on them. And he was with Frank Makowitz at that time, who was his press aide, and he pointed to him and he said, "Do you think Garrison has anything?" And Frank Makowitz said, "I don't know." And he said, "Will you ask Walter?" My dad said, "Will you ask Walter to quietly look into it?" So Walter Sheridan went down to Louisiana, and he went to Dallas, and he got a hold of Jack Ruby's phone records. In the week before Jack Ruby, the week before the assassination, in Jack Ruby's phone records, there were like 600 calls, and almost all of them were people that my father had indicted.
Wow.
Or who had relationships to people who were indicted, from the Marcella mob, from the Trafficante and Giancana, the Chicago mob. So my father at that point, my father did not understand because this information did not come out till later, but he didn't understand the close relationship between the CIA and the mob. At that point, he was thinking, oh, this must have been a mob hit, and they were angry at me for prosecuting the mob, and that's why they killed my brother. So it was kind of devastating for him. But he didn't understand that the mob and the CIA were essentially one organization.
Working together.
Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal, guys, that you got him to say that on camera. And if you guys like that clip, you should watch the whole thing, because he said a lot more than that.
He really did, Tyler. It was surreal, man. I was looking into his eyes the whole time, man. I started the Celtic warrior spirit. I mean, he spoke earlier about how he's letting it rip and telling the truth, man. I think his uncle and his father had that Irish fatalism in the way they lived their lives, and I think he's inherited some of that. He's just out there letting it rip, telling the truth, and where the cards fall, they fall. So it's refreshing to me. No one's perfect, but right now he has my support.
Well, I'm going to always remember that. I got the McConnell at the end of my name, so I'm going to, from now on, say that must be my Irish fatalism, Like,
yeah, exactly.
Because if nothing else, I respect his courage. I don't expect they'll let him anywhere near the White House, but I'm not going to be a nihilist and, not encourage him to try. We all got to try.
What
Chris
are we going to do? You're going to go in the corner and cry and give up, or are we going to try and let it rip with the life that we have left?
Chris Hedges said that. He said, "I don't fight fascists because I think I'm going to win. I fight fascists because they're fascists." And I think RFK is doing that in the way he sees it right now. And the fact that they killed his dad and his uncle, and he said, "Who cares? Let's try." Man,
let's tell the truth.
RFK.
Let's mock them. Yeah, let's mock them. These are little people at the end of the day. When you really look at these so-called people in power, they're little big men.
Yeah,
they're actually a bunch of pussies, but they brainwashed a lot of people and got a lot of people to be their muscle.
Yes, so, I mean we're living in a real story. We're living in a dark world. Things are dark, but I also believe, and we'll talk about this with our next guest when my friend Bill gets on here. But I believe that when you speak the truth, God's on your side, and He'll help you out. And I think it can lead to good things. So you guys are out there telling the truth. Me and Lori are here trying to tell it. Scott Ritter's trying to tell it. RFK's trying to tell it. Trumpy Bear's trying to tell it. Anybody that's trying in their own flawed way, hey, hats off. Keep it up. America needs you.
I don't want a perfect guy as the president. I want a man who's lived and stumbled and fell down and pulled himself up and learned some lessons along the way and admits it. It's so rare for a politician to admit that they ever did anything wrong in their lives. Bobby is refreshing, I think, in his honesty. And, Tyler, you said something about, fighting fascism. And I thought it was just remarkable that the first thing Bobby said in his speech in Boston, right after he got past his introductory remarks, he said, "The reason I'm running for president is to end the merger of state and corporate power, corporatism, which is a phrase he invokes a lot. But that's how Mussolini defined fascism. I mean, that's the textbook definition. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he is the anti-fascist candidate. I haven't heard anybody else say anything like that. Not even Marianne Williamson, who seems to really like those Nazis in Ukraine. So,
Well, hey, as long as we can help the women in Afghanistan get them freedom, we need to go back in there.
Yeah.
We need to reinvade.
Hey, I
for
don't
feminists'
question.
sake.
no,
I don't
that's a
question the
terrible idea.
crystals. What the crystals say goes. Okay.
Hey, Marianne's a sweetheart. We had her on Jackman Radio. We sat down and interviewed her.
I'd love to
she's a
talk
lot
to
of fun.
Marianne.
She's a nice lady. Yeah, I
Oh,
saw
it's
her
her
not that long ago. But yeah, look, I mean, we know the Democrats and Brandon and company are going to do everything they can to ice Bobby out. It's going to get to a point where, like, this is what happened with Trump in 15 and 16. You can't be ignored. It's a serious thing. It's starting to get real. The numbers are going to go up. And I'm telling people this, wait till he starts barnstorming states and doing town halls and events.
Oh, man.
And hundreds of people start showing up, and then thousands of people start showing up. And then, like my brother said, people who have given up on the process are reinvigorated and they start showing up, and it's going to become a real thing. It's going to turn into.
I'm not old enough to remember 1960 or 1968, but I'm a Kennedy historian and have studied it a great deal. And it's so exciting when you look back at the rallies that they did back then. I mean, it was like Beatlemania for Jack Kennedy in 1960, and again in 68 for Bobby. He had the people on his side. And, Trump rallies are awesome. I've been to several. It's as all-American and wholesome as you can get. And there's so much energy in the room. And I love Trump rallies, actually.
Yeah.
So I want to see Kennedy rallies next year.
Yes, we're going to see that.
Exciting.
I tell people who haven't been to a MAGA rally, it's a mixture of Joel Osteen revivalism, monster truck, 80s glam arena rock, a little bit of Triumph of the Will, a little bit of Lenny Riefenstahl, just a tad, okay? Not too much, just a dash. Dash of Riefenstahl. And exactly, you got it, Tyler. A dash of Olstein, a dash of Monster Truck, and WWE Monday Night Raw, baby. And we let it rip. We do it.
Who wouldn't like that? That's my childhood in a nutshell.
It really is. It has all the fixings of that, but it's the Kennedy. It's going to become undeniable, and I don't care how many lemmings that they put up on mainstream media. You have that clown on. I think she was on with Joe and Mika. What's her name there? She wears Simone. Simmons, Simone's.
Yes, I saw that clip. It was awful.
She's like short circuited at the mention of Bobby's name. Just like, it was cartoonish, but people are so hip to it, and they're fed up with that script that they all follow. And Bobby's a unique figure. This is a unique moment in political history, and Bobby's a unique figure to meet that moment. That's what I'm telling people. That's what I'm feeling after the morning I spent with him. He's for real, and he's gonna shake this thing up. I don't know how it's gonna play out, but he's gonna give it all he has, and I'm really excited to see where it goes and the people who are gonna come out. I said, Bobby, we're gonna see a broad coalition of strange bedfellows and of people who might not otherwise come together for something. And that's what happened with Trump and MAGA. Yeah. And like my brother said, Bobby he has some of the elements of MAGA, but he's more refined, he's more cosmopolitan, he's more worldly. He's more learned. He's more, polished, has more of an educated spin and bend on it. But he's not demeaning the Middle America, and he's going to connect with Middle America like the Kennedys did, his father and his uncle before him. So
that's right.
Those are the things that are going to start happening. And we, independent and alt media, we've created a whole new media ecosystem. Just since this announcement, I've connected with you guys. I've connected with people all across the world and across America who saw our interview, and it was a breath of fresh air to see that and to see those things you talked about.
Isn't it though? He is the strange bedfellows candidate. That's what I keep saying. He's going to bring the biggest coalition of political independents and libertarians and progressives who are sick and tired of the Democratic Party, and some MAGA Republicans who feel betrayed by Trump and want somebody new. It's going to be amazing. It already is. We're seeing it.
Look, Lori, I did take the $1 million from Pfizer. I did do that. Okay, that was a little. We like to put that under the.
You're
rug
admitting it.
And
Breaking
Karen McDougal
news.
and Stormy
Trump
Daniels
just admitted it.
Put it under the rug. Put it under the rug. But no.
One last quick question for you guys. I'm sorry, we're just about out of time because we have another guest coming in. I know you have to go also, but quick question: should he stay with the Democratic Party all the way, or get out?
I think he should try to this is it for the Democratic. I mean, I'm no fan of the Democratic Party, but if this doesn't show Democrats who or middle of the road so-called centrists or members of the Democratic Party, like I'm talking about just regular voters, just regular American citizens, that the whole thing's a scam and it's a mafia, nothing else will. So this is the last chance to do that. Although you could argue
Third
Bernie.
time now. How many times does it take to show you guys it's rigged?
He's as he says, he's a lifelong Democrat. So he's not a Republican. I hate when people are like, oh, he's right wing and he's Republican. He's really not that. So if he runs as an independent, he'll be even more iced out right now at this point. So if he rides the thing to the convention and then decides to run independent, I mean, I would get behind that. Absolutely. Of course. I mean, Ross Perot got 20% and really tilted Bush's kilt back then. So that was great. And I agree with that sentiment. But I think for now he's going to run as a Democrat and he's going to do what he can within the confines of that. And we don't have to like it, but I mean, he's shaking shit up and I'm glad to see it.
Amen.
Right on, guys.
Yeah, I'm right there. Yep, ride the thing in the democratic process. Keep exposing them. Keep using the platform he has. Keep being based, saying awesome truths that so many normies don't ever hear. A lot of what he's saying is rattling people's cages in a good way. So I want to see him keep doing it. And then I think who knows, a lot's going to happen in politics in the next year, but I would certainly support an independent run or something where if he teams up with Trump in the unlikely scenario that happens, there'd have to be a pretty serious fair agreement put into place between what that shared administration and governing would look like. But I'm not opposed to that. I'm open to anything that's not what we have right now. So I'm excited. We'll be following it closely. I think we'll probably be sitting down with Bobby some more. He told me he really enjoyed our conversation and that he would like to do more of those with us. So everybody stay tuned and follow Jackman Radio. And
I was just going to ask you guys, where can people find you? Where can they follow you and support you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Jackman Radio. To support us finance-wise, we're totally viewer audience funded. Patreon.com/Jackman Radio, $5, $10 a month. And then if people like our impressions and want to request like a special video or something or a greeting, we're on Venmo where you can just send me a message on Twitter and request something and we can put a video together. And then you can listen to us. Yeah. So if you want a greeting, Lori, from somebody, if you want Jesse Ventura or Alex Jones, you can get them.
I'll pay for the Alex Jones one.
Yeah, those are free for you, Lori. Those are always free for you. Okay, just as long as we go to we can have shots of adrenochrome and go down to the gun range.
Amen.
And
that's hilarious. I used to work for Alex Jones, so I really love that.
Oh God, I bet you got some stories.
I do.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on Jackman Radio to hear about those stories.
I'd love to come on your show anytime.
We call Alex Jones, we call him Emmerich after his middle name because I'm high German, Lori. My family's from Bavaria. It's high German. My middle name's Emmerich.
I blended up a steak with a super male vitality, and I had some colloidal silver to fight against vampires and goblins like Kamala Harris, and I have the spirit running through me, Inforce.com.
Whatever it takes to beat the reptilians, Alex. I'm on board.
That's right. Me and David Icke are doing a new clothing line debuting this spring. You're not going to believe it. I mean, you have to put on the glasses from They Live to See It, but trust me, it's there in Inforce.com.
Oh, it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
me too.
Thank you. Jackman Radio is on Rumble. I'm trying to build up the Rumble. We're on YouTube at Jackman Radio. And then I'm on Instagram. My handle is Senator Jackman. And then there's a Jackman Radio account. So give us a follow on there. Say hi to me. Tell me you saw me on this show. And you'll get 10% off your next order at Infowars.com.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys.
Let's sell that super male vitality. But I don't think you guys need it. We got
Caitlyn Jenner coming in for super she-male vitality.
Such a pleasure talking to you both. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Definitely.
Thank you, Eric.
Everybody check out the Jackman Show.
God, I laughed so hard.
That was fun.
My
that
side
was a lot
hurts.
of
They're
fun.
killing me.